What's up guys, this is Corey the Dirty Gem, back with another video for y'all. So today we are taking another look at a deck list. We're going back all the way to set 1 Broly. This leader was requested by someone on YouTube by the name of Kai Wayne. I believe that's how you pronounce it, that might not be 100% sure. But he asked if we could cover the set 1 Broly with the new Infinity Saiyan rares. So I was kind of wanting to wait until we had an official clarification on what exactly how that interaction worked. But now that we have that, and we know that you can only play those in monocolored decks for sure, we can go ahead and get into this Broly list. I do think Broly, I'm not going to say he's great. He's definitely not like a tier 1 or anything like that. He's definitely way more playable than he's been in maybe forever. The Infinity Saiyan rare in particular really gave him a boost that he desperately needed. This is definitely something you could probably take to a locals and do well. Casually, you could do really well. You may be able to do fairly well in a regional. I would never imagine that you could like top cut with a Broly type deck, but we'll kind of see how it goes. But let's go ahead and get into the list. Alright, so first up we got our Broly here. On the front side, he's got the permanent. He can't attack battle cards, and then he's got the auto. Whenever this card attacks, both you and your opponent take 1 card from your hand, place him in the drop area, so he's hand destruction. The not being able to attack battle cards kind of sucks, but it's supposed to keep him a little bit more balanced, so he's just not pitching cards out of your opponent's hand every time he attacks a battle card. On his awakened side, he's a draw 2 leader, and then he's still got the same permanent. He can't attack battle cards. And then whenever he attacks, both you and your opponent take a card in your hand, put it in the drop area, and then you choose a battle card, or a card in your battle area, excuse me, and put them in a drop area. So he's hand and board removal at the same time, which is kind of good. The removal part's way better than the hand destruction part, because while he is making them discard a card, he's also attacking into their life. And if they just take it, they're just keeping that card, so they're staying neutral as opposed to going negative, which is kind of where you want to be at. And then also whenever he attacks, he draws a card. So not too great. He does interesting things. He's got a lot of interactions and things like that. Let's go ahead and get into the list. So first up, we've got 4 Broly Dawn of the Rampage. So this is just your 1-drop. Look at the top 7, search for Broly card, put it in your hand. Just a great search engine. It's a great tutor. This is a great like turn 1, turn 2 play, and just kind of getting all the pieces you need. Next up, we've got 4 Infernal Emperor Frieza. This is just pay 1 whenever it comes into play, take a life. As of right now, I still prefer these over like the Newfound Power Son Gohan, just because Crisis Crusher is running around everywhere, Supreme Kai Time Disruptor is running around everywhere, things like that prevent you from attacking with those 1-drops, so you can take the life. So this is just a guaranteed play at take a life. So I feel these are much safer, so that's why I like playing with these as opposed to the Gohans. Next up, we've got 4 Broly Everlasting Vengeance. So this is the event pack promo. He is a 2-drop for 2 green, 15k, and he's got the once per turn, activate main. If your leader is green, you can pay 2 green, put him into play from your drop area. So he just keeps coming back into play, which for what the leader's doing, that's not too bad. It gives us a nice little effect there. Next up, we've got 4 Endless Evolution Broly. So this is also a promo. It is a 3-drop. Whenever it comes into play, your opponent chooses one of the battle cards and places it in the drop area. And then as the permanent, cards that evolve onto this reduce their evolve cost by 2 green. So it just makes evolving a lot cheaper, which is nice for what we're trying to do. Next up, we've got 4 Deathless Warrior Broly. So he's a 4-drop from the Ultimate Box. He's a 20k. He's got the whenever he comes into play, your opponent may discard or KO a battle card. If they don't, then they choose 2 cards from their hand and place it in the drop area. So this is really good to play if they don't have anything in play, or if they have only barrier cards in play, because then obviously they can't choose one of those to put in the drop area, so it's an auto pitch to, which is nice. He's also got the same permanent, that cards that evolve over top of him, excluding himself, cost 2 less to evolve, 2 green less to evolve, and then he evolves for 3 green himself. So you can evolve him off a 3-drop for 1, and then evolve something else on top of him for 2 less green. So not too bad. We're not honestly playing a lot of these, the 3 and the 4-drops. Those are options that we can go with, but generally speaking, we're not going a lot of that route. Next up, we've got 2 Surprise Attack Frieza. Just whenever one of your opponent's battle cards is KO'd, he comes into play. We brought this up earlier with the leader, that he doesn't actually KO things, so that doesn't trigger this. But either of the 2, the 3-drop or the 4-drop, whenever they KO something, he would come into play. If you just attack something and kill it, he comes into play. Just a really great card to have in general, especially because he's 15k critical. Alright, next up we've got 2 Broly the Rampage Whore, or the Rampaging Whore. So he is a 6-drop. 30k, double strike, and then whenever he comes into play, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and places them in the drop area, and then he evolves for 4 green and 1 other. So if you're evolving over the 3 drop or the 4 drop, he's only going to cost 3 to evolve, 2 green and 1 other. So pretty good way just to pitch cards from their hand. He's a big 30k, so that's nice. Just all around pretty solid card. We're only running 2 of them because, like I said, we're not really going into those type of strategies. Alright, next up we've got Broly the Supreme Berserker. So he is a 7 drop. He's at 30k, he's evolved for 2 green and 3 other, or just 3 with one of the other Brolys. He's got critical, barrier, he's got a burst once per turn whenever he attacks. You can look at, depending on the cards that you have in your opponent's hand, if your opponent has 3 or less cards in their hand, switch this card to active mode so he could attack again. Or if your opponent has 4 more cards in their hand, they reveal their hand, choose 1 card from your opponent's hand, and place in the drop area. So again, he's more hand destruction. He can look at your opponent's hand and just like pitch a negate or something like that they might need later. He's big, he's critical, he's barrier, so he kind of sticks around. The burst isn't great, but like I said, we're not doing a lot of this stuff. A lot of these are just more pieces that we can find and options to play, but not really what the deck's trying to do. Alright, and the next up we've got Super Saiyan 3 Broly Saiyan Berserker. So this is the Infinity Saiyan rare from set 7. It's an 8 drop, 35k permanent. If you have any non-green cards other than in your area, other than your deck, hand, or life, you can't play this from any area. So basically, if you've got any like black cards or multicolored cards, you can't play this guy. You can still use his other effects, you just can't actually play him. So that is a little bit of a restriction. He's got an activate main for 4. Choose 1 Broly's ring in your battle area, place it in your gender's drop area, then play this card from your hand. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose up to 1 green Broly card in your hand with an energy cost of 7 or less and play it. So that gets us our Broly the Supreme Berserker and our Broly the Rampaging Horror. We can just put those into play for free, which is really cool. And then auto, whenever this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, and your leader card is a Broly card, choose up to 1 Broly's ring from your deck, activate it, then shuffle your deck. If you do, choose up to 1 or 2 cards from your life and add them to your hand. So, a lot of stuff going on here. This is really kind of like the best card in the deck, honestly. So early in the game, like turn 1, like you swing with your leader, now you have to pitch a card. You pitch this, you go in your deck, find the Broly's ring, activate it, and then you can take 2 life. So it's self-awakening. And then later in the game, for 4 energy, you put a big 35k into play, that then puts another 7 drop into play. Since it's an 8k, if you pop him, you go to the SCR, which we'll get into that here in a little bit, but a lot of different routes to play with this guy. It's just really great to give Broly a self-awakening card, and B, a card that effectively for free goes and finds the ring. So before, you either had to find the ring and just hardcast it. You had the 2-drop Paragus from set 1 that put it into play, but that cost 2, so it felt bad. So this is the most efficient way to get the ring into play, which is, like I said, this is exactly what Broly needed in order to make it more viable. It still doesn't make it like fantastic, but this is the step in the right direction. Moving on, next we've got our 4 super combos running Defending Father Paragus because we're green. That's the best super combo in the game, so why not? And then finally, for our battle cards, we've got 1 Broly Ultimate Agent of Destruction. So this is our SCR card. It's an 8-drop, 40k, double strike, dual attack, auto. When one of your battle cards with the energy cost of 7 or more is removed from battle area by a skill or KO'd, activate this skill. You may choose all cards or all other cards in your hand, place them in the drop area, then play this card. And then auto, whenever this card attacks, if your life is at 1, your opponent chooses all the cards in their hand and places them in the drop area. So, a lot of stuff going on there. Kind of what we're talking about, our route is turn 4. We pay 4, we activate the Super Saiyan 3 Broly to pitch the ring, put him into play, and then we play a 7-drop from our hand. Then we swing with our leader, we pop the 35k, or the 8-drop, or the 7-drop, it doesn't matter, and then we get to play the SCR out of our hand. So we're going down to 1 life, playing this, and kind of finishing the game that way. Even if you're not at 1, he's still a dual attack 40k, which is really good. A dual attack double strike 40k, which is really good. With the Brolys and stuff, we can start pitching these out of our hand early to get down low life, so we can get out of this on turn 4 and just kind of close out the game that way. Just a really great kind of way to finish the game. Moving on into our extra cards, which we do run a lot. So first up, we've got 4, the Broly's Ring. It's a 1-drop field card, and then it's permanent. Your hand is not affected by your Broly leader's card skill. So basically what this means is whenever we attack with our Broly, if this is in play, we no longer have to pitch cards from our hand. Only our opponent has to pitch cards. There's a really good card to have, and like I said before, there just wasn't a lot of great ways to find this card. You'd have to draw into it, and it felt bad if you didn't draw into that early, or you had, like I said, the 2-drop Paragus, which just felt bad playing that. So now we can just combo out, or not combo, we can pitch the 8-drop Broly off of our leader ability, and now we're plussing. We're going and getting this card, and we're taking life, so we're self-awakening. So really, really great card. Really great all engine altogether. Really makes it way more playable. Next up, we've got 2 Father-Son Kamehameha. It's a 1-drop extra card. Activate main, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost larger than or equal to your opponent's amount of total energy and KO it. Just great removal for a lot of the big stuff. You're looking at the Broly chain itself, like the starter Broly chain, any of that kind of stuff. You can just pop it for 1, which is really nice. This is probably the card, if you had to change this list, you could potentially change this. Originally in this 2-drop slot, I had the Hidden Power of the Saiyans from set 7. It just felt bad. I never was playing it. I always wished it was something else because it cost 2, and its effect just never seemed like super worthwhile. So testing out the Father-Son Kamehameha, it's definitely a good card to have. It's no by means necessary, so this is one of those cards you could probably swap out. Next up, for the greater good. So it's a 1-drop negate. If your leader card is green, negate the attack, then choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 or less and KO it. That's nice. The main thing we're running this for is it's permanent. If this card's in your drop area, you can activate it at paying its energy cost and removing it and 1 green card from your hand from the game. And then you can only activate this skill once per turn. So this is really great, like you can negate something early, and now that negate's always going to be sitting there as long as you have an energy open. So later in the game when things happen, like your hand goes down low or whatever it is, you don't have a negate, like this is like an emergency negate, like okay cool, it's in my drop, I'll pay 1, pitch a card, play this, negate the attack. So really good stuff there. Next up is 4 Shocking Death Ball, one of the best negates in the game. We're a green leader. Negate the attack, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost 2 or less and KO it, so it clears the board. It's sparking 5, we can take a life instead of paying its energy cost, which we need to awaken anyway. We're getting cards in the drop relatively quickly by the leader ability and things like that. So just overall, just a really great card. And then finally, 2 Enrage Attack Gohan, or Enrage Gohan Awakening. It's a 2-drop extra card. At counter attack, place 1 card in your hand, your drop area, choose it to one of your opponent's attacking battle cards and KO it. So this works for us in a couple different ways. First of all, it's like a Sugish effect. Whenever they attack, you can just pitch this and kill something big you don't want to deal with. Get that out of the way. Secondly, if it's on your opponent's turn, whenever you're activating this, you can pitch the 8-drop Super Saiyan 3 Broly. Now that that's being discarded from your hand, you can take 2 life, so you can draw cards on your opponent's turn. You can self-awaken on your opponent's turn. And the best thing it does is that it gets us down to that 1 life. So that makes the SCR live. So it's a lot of different ways to kind of go about that. Overall, I think it's a really solid card for the deck. Having those Sugish type effects is really strong, especially in a format that Bad Ring Laser doesn't exist. So you play this, it's going through, as long as the card doesn't have barrier. And so it just pops something big that you don't want to deal with. Talking things like Victory Strike, or anything really big, really, that you just don't want to kill. Like a Mirror, like, okay, cool, I can't negate that. I don't have negates. And I can't out-combo it, I'll just kill it. It's gone. Don't have to deal with it. So all in all, pretty solid card there. We are a little extra card heavy, which is sometimes a downside, but majority of these are like super necessary, like the ring, like the death ball. For the greater goods, probably not overly necessary. I do feel like having it, I feel like it's a good option, especially like if you don't find your 8-drop Broly's early and you have to swing and pitch, you can just pitch this and now you just have a negate that's always live. Like I said, the Father-Son Kamehameha, it could probably be swapped out for something. There's not like a whole lot that I think are like super necessary to swap out, but this is one of those spots you could tech out for sure. But really, so how the deck's, what we're trying to do is, like I said, turn 1, turn 2, we're trying to search for the 8-drops, get self-awakened early, use our leader, pitch those, draw 2, awaken, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to just get to turn 4, get as low a life as possible, ideally 1, go 4, play the 4-drop or the 8-drop from hand, pop the ring, play the 7-drop or the 6-drop, make them pitch 2 more cards, swing with their leader, pop the 8-drop off the leader ability, and then we have to discard a card too because the ring's gone now, and then we play the SCR and just kind of win the game from there. And that's really what it is. So if you can get going and find your pieces, you effectively put your opponent on a 4-turn clock. It doesn't always work out that way, obviously. We're a little susceptible to aggro. We do have the Shocking Death Balls and for the greater good, so we're not like super worried about low to the ground strategies because we can start popping stuff really effectively, which is nice. We've got removal with our leader ability, which removes things. We've got the 3-drop and the 4-drop that remove things, so we can deal with board control for the most part. But if they're able to go like really big and tall early on us, that we can struggle with that. We do struggle with hand advantage if we don't awaken early. So if we miss our 8 drops and we miss our Infernal Emperor freezes and we can't get awakened, We don't draw on our front side, we only lose cards. So that's a little bit of a downside as well. But like we said, I don't think Broly's gonna like shake the world and become this like super dominant deck or anything like that, but I do think it's good. I do think it's much better than it's ever been before. It's definitely fun to play again. Broly's always been fun, but it sucks when you play a deck and it's just not good at all. So having all these new tools at our disposal makes it way more fun to play. But anyway guys, that is it, and we will see y'all next time.